I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Ha'arakah Kodash. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth. And also want to acknowledge the Akim who are pushing this truth with sincerity. Alright, so as you know, Donald J. Trump was in the news again for some alleged racist tweets that he made. And so let me just play this quick little video, catch you up to speed, which you probably already heard about this, but let me just play the video.
These are people that if they don't like it here, they can leave.
President Trump defending his tweets targeting 4 progressive Democrats of color. Today tweeting, these tweets were not racist. But you know who does think that? Avowed racist. And they love it. This from neo-Nazi Andrew Anglin, who runs one of the most clicked racist anti-Semitic websites. This is the kind of white nationalism we elected him for. A white nationalist podcaster simply parroted Trump's words with a picture of the 4 American congresswomen with the caption, "Send them back." White nationalist Patrick Casey tweeted in agreement that the 4 lawmakers simply do not belong in America, let alone in our government. What does the president think about support from these circles?
It doesn't concern me because many people agree with me.
Prominent white supremacists, neo-Nazis, and anti-Muslim bigots have fully embraced Donald Trump's recent tweets.
The Anti-Defamation League's Joanna Mendelson says the president's words are also having an impact on American society as a whole.
Essentially, it normalizes hate and it makes it acceptable, and it lowers our bar, our tolerance for what is allowed in our country, and that is dangerous.
But here's a twist.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
White nationalist Richard Spencer, who hailed Trump when he was first elected, is among those who are turning on Trump.
Many white nationalists will eat up this red meat that Donald Trump is throwing out there. I am not one of them. I recognize the con game that is going on.
They say Trump is all talk and no action on maintaining white dominance in America.
He gives us nothing outside of racist tweets. And by racist tweets, I mean tweets that are meaningless and cheap and express the kind of sentiments you might hear from your drunk uncle while he's watching Hannity.
Yes, that was Richard Spencer, the man who championed the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, who believes that whites should live separately from non-whites and Jewish people, him calling the president's tweet outright racist. But to be clear, there are many white nationalists, supremacists, neo-Nazis, whatever racist group they adhere to, who believe that the president is still their best choice.
All right, so there you have it. You know, the men of this truth who are diligent, you know, we know not to get caught up in our emotions over these devils, because we already know what it is, right? We already know what Esau represents, who he is in the Bible. And, you know, we're not going to waste our time trying to reason with devils, okay? And just like that, the guy that was speaking right at the end of the video, you know, he's telling you right there. He's saying, you know, we're not going to eat this red meat that he's throwing out there, that Donald Trump's throwing out there, because he's not doing no actions. Because their idea of making America great again is, you know, getting rid of the Israelite, you know, the men of, you know, color in this nation of America, you know, and you know, pertaining to the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and the so-called Native Americans. You know, these white nationalists, white supremacists, you know, they actually, they're telling you that how much they hate the Israelite man. And yet you have the wicked 2/3 who still can't seem to get it, right? And they're still trying to be part of this Esau's queendom, including those women who are, you know, being told by Trump to go back to their country, you know. But to us, it's just, it's beating a dead horse. When I say us, I'm talking about the men in the truth that know the scriptures, that are diligent, right? We know what Esau is. We know what he's about. So let me just start out really quick in Genesis 25 and 22. This is dealing with Jacob and Esau, right? When the babies were born. It says in the top of the screen, "And the children struggled together within her, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau." So right there, we're talking about Esau, being born, who is the first. This is literally the first so-called white man who was born on the planet, right? That's why they describe in verse 25, they said he was red, right? Because as you know, white people, so-called white people, lack melanin or pigment in their skin, and therefore the blood shows through, so they appear red when they're born. And Esau was hairy, so he also had red hair along with his red skin. Going to keep continuing on here. And the boys grew. This is 27. "And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents." Because so-called white men, they love to hunt to this day, And Jacob, who are the Israelites, that they're plain. They'll just hang out in the tent, it says. They just want to be at home chilling, right? But not Esau. He wants to be out there hunting for sport. All right, and in 28, "And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sawed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint." So Esau was tired, right? Because he didn't kill anything. He was hungry. He needed some food. Verse 30, "And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom." The word Edom means red. All right. So right here in verse 30, Esau, the so-called white man, he's literally asking him, "Hey, give me that red pottage." The reason why the pottage was red is because it was uncooked meat. And Esau needed it to survive in his mind, right? He wanted immediate gratification. He didn't care if the meat was cooked or not. So he said, "Give me that red pottage. Let me eat it." And just like that Edomite was talking about on that video, he said, I'm not going to eat the red meat that Trump is throwing out there, right? Because they throw the news industry, they throw out little innuendos pertaining to the scriptures, right? They know they like red meat, So anyway, I'm going to jump to Ezekiel. We're going to go to Ezekiel 35 and 5. And says, this is dealing with Esau right here. "Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred," perpetual means ongoing, continuously, "and hast shed the blood of the sons of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh thy power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus I will make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. And what this is dealing with Esau. He always lives by the sword, right? That's his blessing. In Genesis, we can read that was his blessing, was the sword. So the white man lives by the so-called white man, who's actually red, Edomites. He lives by the sword, by his blessing. You know, and he's got a perpetual hatred toward his brother who, you know, well, there's a brotherly covenant that has been broken in the scriptures by Esau. He's always been jealous, and he hates his brother Jacob, and literally the Edomites have a perpetual hatred toward the Israelites. Okay? Because they're inferior. All right, and I'm going to prove that as we go on here. So, and also we read about it in Genesis where it said one nation shall be stronger than the other when they were in Rebekah's womb trying to kill each other. The two babies were fighting in her womb, and that's why her pregnancy was so rough. So, we're going to go to Hebrews next. And we're going to go to 12, verse 16. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. All right, so the word profane means out of the temple, out of the church, which that's a characteristic of the so-called white man who is Esau, his forefather. And what it is, you know, Esau has never been, he was the Edomites, the so-called whites, they were never given the laws of Yahweh, and that's why they never followed them. Never in the history of mankind has a so-called white man followed the true laws of Yahweh. All right, they always pervert everything that they touch. And, that's why it says here in 16, Hebrews 12:16, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So you Israelites who are sitting here trying to reason with these devils, you're fucking useless. All right. And Yahweh's going to kill you too, because you've taken on the mindset and the ways of Esau, or the so-called white man, and you're going to get destroyed by thermonuclear fire because of your choice to make allegiance with the so-called white man, and you get stuck in this delusion of inclusion in this country. All right, these white nationalists, these white supremacists, they hate your ass perpetually. All right, we just read it. They're not there. That's why they're interviewing. And what was he saying? Hail Trump. And he was saying, this is why we voted him, because he's making these comments, So wake up, But, you won't, because that's prophecy. 2/3 of the nation of Israel has to be destroyed along with the Edomites, so-called white men and women and children. All right, there's no discrimination when it comes to Yahweh. We're going to go to Psalms. And we're going to go to 58 and verse 3. It says, the wicked, which are the so-called white men, and why are they wicked? Because they don't follow anything Yahweh has established. They're literally anti-Yahweh, all right? Anti-Yahweh Shai. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. All right, so what is Trump doing? And this is dealing with the Edomites, saying that they speak lies as soon as they're born, as soon as they're able to talk. The so-called white man speaks lies. Okay, and what is Trump telling you? He's telling you, oh, I don't have a racist bone in my body. which his actions indicate otherwise. He's a racist, and that's okay for him to be a racist because, guess what? Yahweh is a racist. So really quick, I'm going to look up that word racist definition. All right, here it is. It says, a person who shows or feels discrimination or prejudice against people of other races, or who believes that a particular race is superior to another. So by definition, Donald J. Trump is a racist, right? Because he, in his mind, and just like his followers, the people that support him and endorse him, I don't remember that Edomite's name that was talking at the end of the video, but what was he saying? He was saying, Trump, he's not tough enough on these, basically in so many words, on these so-called Mexicans, blacks, and Native Americans, right? He's just a big talker. He's not a man of action. He's mad, right? Because that dude, if he had it his way, like they said, he believes that the whites, so-called whites, should be separate, live in separate areas than the people of color, which that's actually a righteous thing. Yahweh is for that. All right. Yahweh also supports that in the Holy Scriptures. He prefers Israel to be separate from the heathen. And it's because whenever we mingle with the heathen, meaning Israel, we end up getting caught up in their bullshit, their doctrines, their lies. Not us elect, but the 2/3, they want to assimilate with Esau, and that increases hell, meaning that increases the grave, the death. Because when you're on board with Esau, you can bet your ass that you're going to be killed in that thermonuclear fire, that second death. All right. So from there, go back to the scriptures. So yeah, it's okay to be racist. It just means that you feel like your nation or your nationality is superior, which I'm going to bring it out. The Bible actually says that, the Israelites are superior to the other nations. So if you're an Israelite, you should be racist. That's righteous thing. It's a righteous thing to be a racist by definition. Okay. So we're going to go to Psalm 7, verse 11. It says, Yahweh judgeth the righteous, and Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. So it says, if he turn not, he will whet his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. He hath also prepared for him the instrument of death. He ordaineth his arrows against the persecutors. All right. So Yahweh hates Donald Trump, and he hates the wicked every single day. All right. So that's what it is, man. He hates the wicked. He hates the white man, the so-called white man. And these are not my words. These are the scriptures. And I'm going to show you. I'm not just going to tell you he hates the so-called white man. I'm going to show you where it says that in the Bible. Okay. Psalms 58. I'm going to go to this verse first. I'm sorry. I went to the wrong. Let's see. Let's go to Malachi. Book of Malachi. And we'll start in 1 verse 3. Well, let's start it. Actually, let's just read it 1. The burden of the word of Yahweh to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith Yahweh. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Right? Because 2/3, they act like that. They're like, why does, how do we know God loves us? We're dealing with the, oppression. Well, they don't even call it oppression. They're comfortable in their conditions that they live in. The 2/3 wicked, part of Israel. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh? Yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau. and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. All right, so Yahweh hates Esau, who is the so-called white man. He's the Edomite. Esau is the forefather of the Edomites. All right, even the scholars know this. You know, in the white man's so-called white man's colleges, and the professors, they know that they are Esau, Edom. It says, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Because Esau really don't have heritage. They steal all the heritage from all the other nations, right? And verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever. And indignation means provoked anger, all right? So the Edomite, the so-called white man, has provoked Yahweh. You know, they've provoked his anger, and Yahweh hates him. You know, but you're never taught that in the Christian, so-called Christian churches, because for one, they don't understand these parables. For two, you know, they're deceivers. The whole point of Esau, who is the devil, this whole nation of devils, their job is to deceive, right? Somebody got to play the part of the wicked, and we know who the wicked is, all right? And why are they wicked? Because what do? They endorse homosexuality. They endorse adultery. They endorse all kinds of profane things. They don't teach the laws. They don't enforce the laws of Yahweh. They're the wicked. All right. So from there, I'm going to go to Romans. And, you know, I'm bringing this up because we're on the subject of Donald Trump. And he's nothing more than a descendant of Esau, who is the wicked. And, you know, these Edomites have a perpetual hate toward Israel. Okay? And if you are an Israelite and you're still trying to assimilate with the Edomites, then you're wicked too. You know, and you can go to church on a Sunday, which is is a sin in itself, unless it falls on the Sabbath, because the Sabbath changes all the time. But if you're in their churches, you know, you're literally you got a missile with your name on it. Yahweh's gonna kill your ass. So we're gonna Romans 9:13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right. So, and then let's read this. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Yahweh? Yahweh forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. All right. So literally, it's repeating itself. The Bible just literally repeats itself. Because remember, we read in Malachi that Yahweh loves Jacob and hates Esau. All right, and we read in Genesis how the two babies, you know, the whole Bible revolves around these two babies. All right, Jacob and Esau. People don't realize that, because you know Isaiah 45:7 says Yahweh creates the good and the evil. Well, there you go. He created Jacob, who is righteous, his descendants, not all of them, but 1/3, and his elect men are righteous, who are descendants of Jacob, who is Israel. And Esau, you know, Yahweh hates him. He's the enemy. All right, Yahweh calls him the enemy. So literally, that's what it is. You know, these two babies. Let me see if I can remember what verse really quick. We'll go to Proverbs. Is it 21:1? No, that's not the one. Proverbs 11:1. Okay, yeah. So it says, a false balance is abomination to Yahweh, but a just weight is his delight. All right, and that just weight is dealing with wickedness and righteousness. All right, so we have Esau and we have Jacob. And those two are balanced, right? You know, they're balanced. One is righteous, one is wicked. So-called black men, so-called Native American, and so-called Hispanic men, you know, according to the scriptures, there are 1/3 of our nation is going to be saved through the fire, meaning saved through the nuclear war that's coming to America. While 2/3 of our people are going to get destroyed with the wicked, who is Esau. All right. And we're going to go to Isaiah 45:7 real quick. I form the light and create darkness. Who's the light? Jacob and the Israelites. Who's the darkness? Esau and the Edomites. All right. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. All right. So it is not the devil that creates evil. It's Yahweh that creates evil. And we got it already. He created Esau, who is evil and wicked. Right? He doesn't follow the rules and the laws and the statutes and commandments of Yahweh. He never has. Part of it is because the laws were never given to him. I was talking to an Edomite the other day, and I told him, I said, hey, you know, you're an Edomite. These laws were never given to you. You can't break law if it wasn't given to you, right? So it's what it is. I'm going to go to Revelation. Actually, before I go there, let's go back to Psalms really quick. I want to establish who the saints are in the Bible. Okay, so we're going to Psalm 148:14. He exalted the horn of his people and praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel, a people near unto him. Praise ye Yahweh. Okay, so right here it's telling you that the Israelites, the sons of Israel, are the saints. Okay? You can't have an Edomite saint, all right? There's no such thing. You can't have a Moabite, which is like a Chinese man. There's no such thing as a Moabite saint. All right, right here we're getting it out. The saints are the Israelites. That's the only way you can be a saint is if you're an Israelite, meaning a so-called black, so-called Native American, or so-called Hispanic man. All right. The reason why we're known by those terms is because of a curse. Yeah, back in Deuteronomy. All right. You go look it up. Curses of Deuteronomy will tell you that the nation of Israel, will be known as a byword. And speaking of Deuteronomy, I'm going to go to Deuteronomy really quick. And we're going to go to verse 7 and 6. And it says, dealing with Israel, for thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy power. Yahweh thy power hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Okay? So I don't know what else to tell you, but it says right here that we, the Israelites, so-called black, Native American, and Hispanic man, are above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. So again, what we looked up the word racist. It says that if you believe your race or your nationality is superior to the other races, well, right here in Deuteronomy 7 and 6, God is saying that the Israelites are above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So there you go. God is a racist by the definition. All right. So, you know, hard pill to swallow for all you Edomites and heathen nations that have been lied to by the so-called white man. He lied to his own people too, declaring himself as God, right? Setting himself up as Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus. So I'm going to go to Deuteronomy again. This time we're going to pull out chapter 26. We're going to go to 18. At the bottom of the screen it says, And Yahweh hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments, and to make thee high above all nations, which he hath made in praise and in name and in honor, and that thou mayest be an holy people unto Yahweh thy power, as he hath spoken. All right. So once again, the Bible is telling you that the Israelites, Yahweh set them up to be high above all nations. Meaning, if you're an Israelite man, you should be racist. You should know that you are superior to the other nations, to the heathen. All right. But if you're a 2/3 wicked Israelite, don't consider yourself above all nations, because your allegiance is to the wicked. All right. If you follow Jesus Christ, if you're still going to church every Sunday, if you're celebrating Christmas and Easter and Thanksgiving and all those other holidays, you're still you don't put yourself in that category. All right, because you're basically like, you might as well be an Edomite, a white man, so-called white man, because you are taking on the doctrine of the heathen, and you're taking on the allegiance to the heathen and to the beast, who is Esau, Edom, so-called white man. All right. So now I'm going to go to Amos, book of Amos, and we're going to go to 1:11. And this one reads towards the top of the screen, Thus saith Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword. And who is Edom? Esau. Esau, Edom. And who is his brother? Jacob, Israel. Because he did pursue his brother with the sword, his blessing. Remember, we got that. The sword is his blessing. And did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. All right. So meaning forever means forever. All right. So back in the biblical Genesis times, Esau hated his brother, and he's got that perpetually anger and hate, like we keep bringing out, toward his brother, toward the Israelite. So don't be, caught off guard or surprised or shocked or you got the blinders over your eye. You can't see shit when you see the president, Donald J. Trump, making racist tweets and then denying it, because we brought out that, the wicked speaks lies as soon as they come out the womb. All right. So for those of you who are Israel, and you're sitting here becoming emotional over the president's racist tweets, the proof is in the pudding. What are you getting all mad about? All right. We already know Esau hates Israel. We already know Donald Trump is a racist. And literally, it's a righteous thing if you're an Israelite and you're a racist. And why is that? Because we just brought out how many verses telling you that Israel is above all nations according to God. All right. So we are above all the nations. All right. So you should be a racist. It's a fact according to the Bible. All right. They brought up that term racist because it just gets a huge rise out of the people. As soon as you hear that word, people start freaking out. Oh shit, he's racist. Oh my God, he's a racist. No, dumbass, you should be racist. Donald Trump is racist, and he's blatantly racist, and he's your president. He ain't my president, because this is not my country neither. Because, and how do we know that? Because those constitutional rights, Those were written for the children of Edom, the so-called white man. Those were not written for the Israelites. Matter of fact, when the Constitution was written, slavery was still in full effect. All right. So of course, the constitutional rights are not for you so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. And don't get it twisted. The Native Americans and the Hispanics were colonialized slaves before the so-called black man was a slave. Okay? There's a scripture in the Bible that says the children of Judah and Israel were oppressed together. Because we've been oppressed throughout all of the captivities together. Okay? Judah and Israel. Northern kingdom, southern kingdom. Okay? So, from there, I'm going to jump to 2nd Ezra. We're going to go to chapter 6. And we'll start out in verse 54. And this reads, After these, Adam, also whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All right, so Adam, dealing with Adam and Eve, says here that we were all from Adam and Eve, right? And but it also says the people also whom thou hast chosen, because Yahweh has a chosen people who are the Israelites. Okay, continuing on in verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Yahweh, because thou madest the world for our sakes. So the world is literally for Israel. That's why Yahweh made the world for our sakes, it says. Number 56, verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So right here it tells you the Israelites are the only thing that matters on the planet Earth. Those are God's people. All right? He says that the rest of the nations who also came from Adam, in verse 56, he's comparing them to spit or a drop that falls from a vessel, right? If you have a container of water and you spill one drop, you ain't tripping on that drop. You don't care. That's what God is saying here. He doesn't give a shit about the other nations. He only cares about the nation of Israel, and more so the elect. And the 1/3 that cleaves to the elect and to the teachings of the prophets. All right. If you reject this truth, just throw yourself in that 2/3 wicked Israelite category, and be ready for destruction to come upon you. Like a thief in the night. All right. And really quick, we're gonna go to Ezra, who's actually Esdras, the same prophet. But this is the Greek name for Esdras is Ezra. All right, so we're going to go to Ezra 9 and verse 1. Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, The people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites. For they have taken of their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers hath been chief in this trespass. Okay? So just like that wicked Edomite was on the video, he was saying, we believe it's better for a so-called white man to live separate from the rest of the nations. Same thing with God. He's telling you in this 2 verses. Yahweh doesn't want us mingling with the other nations. All right, for obvious reasons. When you mingle with the other nations, you lose integrity. You forsake the laws of Yahweh. Right? You become a, delusion, as you can see, because you have people on social media who are freaking out about Donald Trump and his racist tweets, because they're in a delusion of inclusion. They think that this country is for them too, because really Esau has deceived them, and they're fighting for their equal rights in Esau's kingdom, or I should say queendom. But right here it tells you in verse 9, it says he's pissed off at the Levites because they didn't separate themselves from the other heathens, right? Instead, they took on their daughters, and their sons, and it says they mingled with the heathen, right? And literally, that's not a good thing. So Yahweh is on the same page as that wicked Edomite who said it's better for the so-called white man to live separate from the Israelite man, who is the so-called black, so-called Native American, and so-called Hispanic. All right? So, message to the Israelites, quit getting butthurt when you see Donald Trump post racist tweets. He's just playing his role. That's what he is. He has perpetual hatred. He's an Edomite. All right? So pull your head out of your ass and understand that the so-called white man does not like you. All right? No matter how good he is to your face, no matter how many times he puts his arm around you and speaks, soft words in your ear, don't get it twisted. Brought it out over and over. The Bible, which is the word of God, Yahweh, continually tells you that this Edomite has a perpetual hatred for you. All right? So, with that, I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Ha-Rakah Kwadash. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone who taught us this truth, and also want to acknowledge the Akyam who are pushing this truth with sincerity on the streets. Shalom to the elect.